Football, Ronaldo leaves the team, I become Real Madrid's top card. Chapter 41. In just 20 minutes, Lin Chen scored 2 goals. Hertha Berlin's players were extremely depressed at this time, and even the players' psychology was somewhat affected. The players on the pitch looked at coach Dardoy. Do you want to continue to play in this formation now? The offensive was limited by Ronaldo, Salif and others. And having Lin Chen in the backcourt involved too much energy of the team. The defense could not limit Lin Chen's play, and the players of Hertha Berlin were a little confused at this time. Dardoy also saw that the mood of the players was not high. Then arranged for the team to strengthen the defense and survive Schalke 04's attack in the first half. The game starts again. Although Dardoy changed the formation, allowing 2 fullbacks, Lazaro and Gruich, to retreat to defend. But at this time, Hertha Berlin's players were clearly out of form and completely lost their desire to attack. Hertha Berlin's striker Ibisevic was also a little helpless. Tedesco also spotted a change in Hertha Berlin. In order to prevent being counterattacked, Tedesco then told the core of the midfield, McKennie, to slow down the pace of the game. Schalke's players faced the heavily defended Hertha Berlin side and began to churn their feet in midfield. Anyway, now they are 2 goals ahead, just be patient and look for a chance to score. McKennie also began to make cross passes and back passes in the middle circle. Oh my god! Did Hertha Berlin simply abandon the game? The commentators' eyes widened at the sight of the changes on the pitch. Now they are 2 goals behind, and they have to defend with all their strength. Schalke fans at the Ferdinand Stadium also laughed happily when they saw this scene. Fans then booed in unison and taunted Hertha Berlin's players. On the pitch, Hertha Berlin's players were also flushed at this time. When you are 2 goals behind, you even have to choose to shrink defense. But Dardoy's tactics were clearly successful. Lin Chen, a high school forward, could only walk in the opponent's half after losing the pass of his teammate. In the face of a tighter defensive formation, it was difficult for Lin Chen to break into the box. This situation continued until the end of the game. Schalke 04 locker room. Tedesco sat in a circle with the players and explained the tactics of the second half. Listen all. In the second half, we will continue to press the opponent's defensive area. Embolo, Kono, you 2 try to get into the box diagonally from the side as much as possible. Whether the ball comes to you or not, you have to help Lin Chen pull away the defenders of Hertha Berlin. Tedesco's tactic is obviously to let everyone in the team serve Lin Chen for free. Perhaps because Lin Chen often took his teammates to eat Chinese food before. Teammates did not dispute the coach's tactic. Especially Embolo and Kono, as forwards, actually want to cover Lin Chen, the center, and open up shooting space. But the 2 had no opinion at all, but happily accepted the coach's instructions. Later, he even threatened Lin Chen to let Lin Chen invite them to eat hot pot if he did not score a goal to repay their efforts. After the start of the second half, Hertha Berlin did not change their formation, still choosing to defend strictly. Huagua commentator Xinjian also couldn't help but laugh when he saw this scene. Could it be that Hertha Berlin wants to wait for Lin Chen to leave the field before starting to attack? Tao Jun conformed at this time. How is it impossible? Maybe the fans are not familiar with it. When Lin Chen played in the West BB before, the opposite team often waited for Lin Chen to leave the field before starting to attack. I guess Dardoy thinks the same as the manager of the 2nd division. After Tao Jun finished speaking, the 2 laughed in unison. Chinese fans were also amused by these 2 explanations. The deterrent power of the king of the ball is .jpg. Sword bearer, Lin Chen. Although it is very unkind, I also want to laugh, hahaha. On the pitch. Seeing Hertha Berlin continue to choose to shrink in defense, Schalke 04 also began to press high. Algerian teenager Bentaleb received the ball on the touchline and inserted it diagonally directly into the center line in disguise. But then there was a Hertha Berlin defender in front of him. They stood in front of Bentaleb like a wall. But at this time, Rudy, Embolo, Kono and others ran forward in unison. This made the players of Hertha Berlin a little shaken. There was a brief vacancy in the team's defensive formation. Opportunity. Bentaleb knew the time had come and sent a straight kick. And the target is Lin Chen, who is pacing outside the great forbidden area. Perhaps because it was Bentaleb's first start, Bental was a little excited, and the ball gave a lot of power. So much so that Lin Chen was a little surprised when he received the ball, and he almost didn't stop. At the moment when Lin Chen adjusted, Hertha Berlin's defender Nicholas was already in place. But at this time, Lin Chen took the ball and made a light change of direction, shaking Nicholas out of the defensive position. When Nicholas reacted, he wanted to make a foul directly before Lin Chen entered the box. Unexpectedly, Lin Chen directly resisted the pull of Nicholas, who had fallen to the ground, and brought the ball into the penalty area. Lin Chen actually pulled Nicholas into the forbidden area. The commentator was also shocked by this scene on the field, and Lin Chen's physical fitness was too strong. Facing the attacking Yarstein, Lin Chen immediately raised his right foot and rubbed the ball. The ball arcs in the air and then falls into the net. 3-0. Chapter 42. Scored. Lin Chen completed the hat-trick in less than 60 minutes. The voice of the commentary then roared out, and it seemed that he was also excited by Lin Chen's very savage goal. At the Fürthen Stadium, Schalke's fans have completely boiled. Can you score a goal by pulling a defender behind you? What kind of monster player is this? After Lin Chen scored the goal, he immediately ran to the corner area to do a backflip to celebrate. Then he stretched out 3 fingers and pointed to the sky. Schalke 04 fans were also impressed by Lin Chen's confident charm. Lin Chen! Lin Chen! In the stands, all Schalke fans shouted Lin Chen's name in unison. The voices of the fans rose from wave to wave, sweeping the stadium in an instant. At this moment, Lin Chen is the prince of the Fürthen Stadium. Huagua Broadcast Room. King of the Forest Ball. I believe that the audience and friends in front of the TV are all rejoicing for Lin Chen to complete the hat-trick. At this moment, Lin Chen is the strongest player in our minds. Xinjian's excitement was beyond words. The fans of Huagua were completely shocked by Lin Chen at this time, so much so that they couldn't speak. Is this really our Huagua player? Such a strong physical fitness. Such superb ejaculation. Inside the Fürthen Stadium. After Lin Chen completed the hat-trick, he directly chose to replace Lin Chen. When Lin Chen left the field, all Schalke 04 fans stood up and applauded Lin Chen. The applause of the fans lasted for more than a minute. It was not until Lin Chen finished hugging with head coach Tedesco after he left the field that it gradually subsided. In the following match, Dardouilly also began to attack after seeing Lin Chen go off the field. Under the attack, both sides also scored a goal each. The final match ended with a score of 4-1. After the game, Lin Chen was once again elected the best player of the game. On social media, countless Schalke fans were retweeting this hearty victory. 2 consecutive wins in 2 rounds of the league, what a wonderful start. This time, the report on Lin Chen is no longer limited to Schalke's local media. Some influential football media in Germany have also reported Lin Chen's player experience. Kicker magazine even chose Lin Chen as the cover character of the new issue, and called it directly. The new generation of super center strikers in the Bundesliga led Schalke 04 to 2 consecutive wins. Despite the praise from the media outside. But at this time, Lin Chen did not care about these at all, but concentrated on preparing for the next round of the league. Early the next morning. As soon as Lin Chen came out of the base dormitory, he was stopped by Tedesco. Early, Lin Chen. Was there any excitement last night that I couldn't sleep? Tedesco greeted Lin Chen with a smile. Lin Chen touched the back of his neck, and then smiled embarrassedly. It's okay, it's just 3 goals, I'm not too excited. Tedesco listened to the black lines on his forehead, and he already knew that he didn't ask Lin Chen this question. Then Tedesco calmed his mood and asked Lin Chen solemnly. After the 3rd round of league games, we're going to play the Champions League group stage. I know you can be recalled at any time on loan, so I wanted to ask if you would like to play in the Champions League at Schalke. Still ready to wait for Real Madrid's call-up. Tedesco's words made Lin Chen a little unexpected. Is the Champions League coming so soon? Lin Chen also understood that Tedesco's intention in asking this sentence was for his own good. Because UEFA has a rule that after playing in the Champions League in the first half, the winter transfer window cannot play in the Champions League for new teams. If you register for the Champions League at Schalke 04, you will not be able to register a Champions League player with Real Madrid in the same season. This dilemma made Lin Chen fall into deep thought at this time. Tedesco naturally understood the reason why Real Madrid sent Lin Chen here. If Lin Chen's performance was not so bright, there might not be any concerns in this regard. But now Lin Chen has scored 6 goals in 2 games in the Bundesliga. Top of the shooter list. Even if it is Real Madrid, maybe it is now discussing whether to let Lin Chen return to the first team. Lin Chen was silent for a while, and then seemed to have made up his mind. I'm ready to wait for Real Madrid's recall. Lin Chen plucked up enough courage to say to Tedesco. In fact, Lin Chen was also very tormented when he made this decision. Now Lin Chen is very happy to stay at Schalke 04, and the team can also develop tactics for themselves. But Lin Chen is a Real Madrid player after all, and he came to Schalke 04 only on loan. If they had registered for the Champions League at Schalke 04, it would have been worth the cost of recalling themselves halfway. Tedesco was slightly disappointed after hearing Lin Chen's answer. But it quickly calmed down. I'm sure you can. Lin Chen also felt a little embarrassed, and then assured the coach that the subsequent games would definitely bring more goals to the team. Tedesco laughed happily when he heard this. After Lin Chen left, Tedesco thought in his heart. Since he is destined to go, there is no need to force him to stay, and now Lin Chen's role in the league is also very large. Chapter 43. Although Tedesco was a little disappointed that Lin Chen gave up his registration in the Champions League, he could also understand Lin Chen's choice. After all, Real Madrid and Schalke, which player knows how to choose? What's more, Lin Chen is also from Castile, and he is definitely more inclined to choose Real Madrid. But Lin Chen is still a little worried about whether he can return to Real Madrid in the winter window. So Lin Chen, after finishing his conversation with Tedesco, called Raúl, who was far away in Madrid. Hey! Lin Chen, I watched your game yesterday and played awesome. After Raúl picked up the phone, he immediately congratulated Lin Chen. Haha, thank you coach for the compliment. Lin Chen first smiled, and then told Raúl about today's events. When Raúl heard that Tedesco wanted Lin Chen to be registered in the Champions League squad, Raúl was not surprised. After all, Lin Chen is now the top scorer of the Schalke 04 team, and it is not surprising that Tedesco has such an idea. But then Raúl thought that Lin Chen was now a lone player. If Schalke 04 registers for the Champions League, it may affect the probability of Real Madrid recalling Lin Chen. Just when Raúl wanted to persuade Lin Chen said that he refused the invitation of Tedster manager, and chose to wait for Real Madrid's call-up. But Lin Chen is somewhat worried about whether Real Madrid will recall themselves this season, if not for this idea. Then you might as well play in the Champions League at Schalke 04. Raúl was silent for a while, and then said in a solemn tone. You made the right choice. If you had registered with Schalke 04, the winter window team probably wouldn't have recalled you. Now there are people inside Real Madrid who have noticed your performance in the Bundesliga. If you continue to play this kind of performance after that, I believe Real Madrid will contact Schalke soon to recall you. After Raúl said this, Lin Chen was still quite satisfied. After Lin Chen and Raúl shared their recent life in Schalke 04, Lin Chen hung up the phone. On the training ground. Lin Chen and teammate Mark Yut are doing training. During a scramble for the ball, Lin Chen found that he couldn't catch up with Mark Yut. You must know that Mark Yut is 29 years old this year, while Lin Chen is still an 18-year-old player. It stands to reason that the young and vigorous Lin Chen should not lose to Mark Yut. Lin Chen saw that he couldn't catch up with the ball, so he didn't chase after it, and sat directly on the grass on the side. Mark Yut was also surprised after grabbing the ball, but he didn't expect that Lin Chen didn't catch the ball. Lin Chen, didn't you sleep well last night? Lin Chen also covered his forehead when he heard this. Why did everyone ask if he slept well? It seems that my legs and feet are still sharp, and I can play for a few more years. Mark Yut said as he stepped on the ball and said to the approaching McKennie. The latter mercilessly uncovered Mark Yut's scars. Come on, Lin Chen is letting you. I really can't run away and you can't knock you off. Lin Chen's body is not comparable to this old bone of yours. After McKennie's words, Mark Yut's face instantly collapsed, and Lin Chen laughed on the side. However, Lin Chen also knew that it was time to improve his attribute points again. Coupled with the reward of his first Bundesliga win, Lin Chen has now accumulated 16 attribute points. The system panel was opened and all the 16 attribute points accumulated were added to the speed. At this time, the panel properties have become much better. Body, 100, stamina, 75. Breakout, 50, dribbling, 81. Shot, 70, speed, 76. Defense, 30. Notes, 100 out of 100, 40 amateur teams, 60 pros, 85 major leagues. Buff, shooter instinct, 60% goal success rate in large boxes, 100% goal success rate in small boxes. In addition to the relatively low breakthrough, the other attributes were much higher than Lin Chen half a year ago. Among them, the attribute growth of his own dribbling is the largest, from the original 50 points to now a full 81 points. Lin Chen added all the attribute points accumulated in ShiBB to the dribbling. In addition, there are 2 points that I have worked hard to train. After adding points. When Lin Chen competed with Makwut for speed again, he could no longer fall behind. Most were even able to win Markut. This made Markut's just relaxed face collapse again. In fact, Lin Chen originally wanted to wait for a few more games to accumulate more attribute points and then improve his attributes. But Real Madrid's current situation does not give Lin Chen more time. Although Real Madrid's record at the beginning of the season looked reasonable, they faced some fish-belly teams. The run-in within the team is also a lot worse. As for the new manager Solari after he took office, reusing the young General Vinicius, Bell, although it was reused in the early days, but then gradually replaced by Asensio or Vasquez. Although the subsequent performance is decent, it is difficult to support half of Real Madrid's sky. Real Madrid's record in various competitions is also getting worse and worse. These may be a little distant for Lin Chen now, but they are also problems that Lin Chen must face. So now it's time to step up and improve yourself. Lin Chen immediately took back his thoughts and focused on his training. After a break of almost 2 weeks, the third round of the Bundesliga also began. Schalke 04 is heading to Westphalia away to Borussia Mönchengladbach. Chapter 44. Borussia Mönchengladbach has many fans in the Bundesliga. In the golden period of the 70s of the 20th century, it insisted on all-attack tactics and was widely welcomed by fans all over Germany, and was the top team in European football at that time. After returning to the Bundesliga in the 08-09 season, Borussia Mönchen has maintained his place in the upper reaches of the league. In the previous 2 consecutive seasons, Borussia Mönchengladbach finished 9th in the league. Compared with the glory of entering the main stage of the Champions League in a row for the previous 2 years, this result is not very good. After the 17-18 season, the club also did not renew the Blacks' contract until the summer of 2019, but they also did not sack the former Wolfsburg boss, and Borussia Mönchen will decide the future of the Blacks based on the course of the season. In the first 2 Bundesliga games, Borussia Mönchen won 1 and drew 1. This record looks decent, but compared to München's investment in the summer window, it is a little undercited. Other than that, just League One nice goalscorer Plea, who was bought for €23 million, can be described as the first value in team history, but it has not played as it should. The current situation of the team is not good, and the Black Gold could be taken at any time. So this game is crucial for the Black Gold. At this time, Lin Chen listened to the team song from the Prussian Park Stadium in the player tunnel. Samstagmittag, get.es.los. In Stadion Zoom.b, Kelberg. Im Auto.ist.die Stimming.grow. Lin Chen is also very familiar with this song Die, Elf.vom, Niederrhein. There was once a joke that Borussia Mönchen's anthem went far further in the Champions League than Borussia Mönchen's team. It can be seen how well this song is sung. Lin Chen couldn't help but think what it would be like if this was at the Bernabeu Stadium. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, it was drizzling in the Prussian Park Stadium. But this did not affect the more than 50,000 Monksing fans who were cheering at this time. After the start of the match, Schalke 04 was still 343. But Tedesco was also a little surprised to see the formation that Mönching put on. Mönching's head coach He Jin did not put on the unchanged 42-22 formation for 10,000 years, but chose 4-3-3. In the first few minutes, Lin Chen began to stand a little unfooted in the restricted area. Mainly because the passing of teammates does not come in, and it is always destroyed by the opposing defender. Mönchen's defensive strength is not weak, and Ginter and Jan Chik are both veterans who have been famous for a long time. Lin Chen saw that the team was playing more difficult in the front court, so he had to come out to respond. I have to say that Lin Chen's physical fitness and confrontation ability have indeed helped the team a lot. With Lin Chen's cooperation, the team's operation has also become smoother. The opportunity also appeared in front of Lin Chen very quickly. After receiving Rudy's pass, the newcomer Di Santo did not choose to wait for the ball in place, but ran towards the ball. Winter, a fullback who originally defended Di Santo, could only chase him out when he saw this. Just after Di Santo received the ball, he crossed it to Lin Chen for the first time. Lin Chen faced the incoming ball and first controlled the ball at his feet, because Jan Chik had already pressed up from behind. Lin Chen saw that the ball was not easy to handle, so he handed the ball to McKennie in midfield. The entire Schalke 04 formation also withdrew. Just as Ginter and Jan Keki were slowly moving forward the defensive line, McKennie dodged the push of Borussia Mönchen's midfielder. As the ball passed out from McKennie's feet again, Maitwut, who was waiting at the far end, immediately activated and turned to pass Ginter. When McKennie passed the ball, Gent wasn't entirely focused on defense. Instead, he raised his right hand high and signaled that lineman Matut was offside. However, Ginter did not hear the referee's whistle, but heard an exclamation from the spectators in the stands. When Ginter looked back, Lin Chen didn't know when he had already inserted diagonally from the right side. And Yen Chika, who was responsible for defending Lin Chen, could only follow Lin Chen's ass and fight to catch up. On the sidelines, Minching head coach He Jin, who was sitting in the coach's dugout, originally hoped to limit Lin Chen's play with the help of two defensive veterans. When the Black Gold saw McKennie kick the ball to Matt Ute behind Ginter. Originally, I didn't care much, thinking that this ball must be offside. When he set his sights on the linesman, he found that the lineman did not raise the flag, but was running. At this time, Lin Chen quickly started, and the speed was released with all his strength at this moment, instantly leaving Yanchik behind. Dangerous. Black Gold also sensed the threat of the ball at this time. Lin Chen had already held the ball at his feet when everyone was surprised. There's a forbidden area right in front of you. Lin Chen adjusted his position while dribbling the ball and rushed straight into the big penalty area. Borussia Mönchen's goalkeeper Sommer was already on the pitch when McKennie passed the ball. As a goalkeeper, whether the ball is offside or not, this is what he has to do. But Lin Chen didn't give him a chance to perform. The first time Lin Chen ran into the big penalty area, he directly chose to shoot in the face of the attacking Sualone. The football was rubbed out by Lin Chen with a parabola and flew towards the goal from the air. Sommer hurriedly retreated, and then took off into the air, wanting to lift Lin Chen's hanging shot out. But it's a pity that he didn't touch anything, and the ball went directly past his palm and fell into the goal. 1-0. It's wonderful. Lin Chen deceived the goalkeeper with a hanging shot to help the team gain an advantage. On the pitch. While Lin Chen and his teammates were celebrating, the system's prompt suddenly sounded. Hidden mission, first triple goal in 5 major leagues, completed. Mission reward, 15 attribute points. Chapter 45. Another 15 attribute points. Lin Chen did not hesitate, and directly added all the 16 attributes that had been accumulated at this time to the speed again. Body, 100, stamina, 75. Breakout, 50, dribbling, 81. Shot, 70, speed, 92. Defense, 30. Notes, 100 out of 100, 40 amateur teams, 60 pros, 85 leagues. Lin Chen couldn't help but laugh happily when he looked at the speed attribute value that was already 92. Even think about whether his current attribute value can compete with Bell and others for speed. Lin Chen couldn't help but feel fortunate for his choice to come out for leveling. If you stay in the Real Madrid first team, you may not even be able to play now. Not to mention scoring goals in 3 consecutive games. Shift. Black Gold spat out a dirty word angrily. Before the game, the information given by the team's analysis team was clearly that Lin Chen was just a bulky high school forward. Hurricane really wanted to ask those analytical coaches. What bulky high school forward have you ever seen running up like lightning? On the sidelines, Tedesco reacted the same way as the Black Gold. Why is this kid so fast? I haven't found it before. Tedesco turned to assistant coach Peter and asked. Peter was also amazed at Lin Chen's speed, and was shocked for a long time unable to speak. In fact, Lin Chen's speed is not much faster than some wingers. But Lin Chen had never shown that he had the ability to do this before. On the court, most of them still rely on their own body and ability to grab points to complete the score. but for the first time like today, using speed directly to throw off the opposing defender. Tedesco only felt that he had discovered a new continent at this time, and then arranged for the team to create as many opportunities as possible for Lin Chen to fight for speed. Tedesco wanted to see what else Lin Chen hadn't taken out. Soon. 22nd minute of the game. McKennie kicked straight and the ball slipped through the middle of Borussia Mönchen's two midfielders. Lin Chen instantly activated and held the ball at his feet. But at this time, Lin Chen had already come to the right side of the court, guarded by Sweden international Winter. This time Winter obviously learned the lesson of the previous Janchik too. Without giving Lin Chen a chance to adjust again, he directly rushed to force Lin Chen. At the same time that Winter stepped on his feet, Lin Chen pushed the ball forward vigorously. This ball. To whom is it to be passed on? After seeing Lin Chen's inexplicable kick, the commentator was also a little confused, and there was no longer any player in front. The commentator was just about to say the next sentence when he was suddenly interrupted by the exclamation of the fans in the stadium. I saw that Lin Chen was less constrained by dribbling the ball, and directly accelerated to the ball with all his strength. Overtaking in corners? The commentator was also shocked by this scene. What the heck? A high school striker has to compete with a fullback for speed. Winter also sensed Lin Chen's intention at the first time, and quickly turned around to grab the ball. But Lin Chen's speed value of 92 at this time would be comparable to Winter's. Just for a moment, Lin Chen threw off Winter's two positions. The sound of the wind passed through Lin Chen's ears, and at this time, Lin Chen only felt that this feeling of running was amazing. Too fast. Lin Chen directly left Winter far behind. Inside the stadium, the fans of Monxing also gasped when they saw this scene. After Lin Chen got the ball, he continued to drip the ball forward and inserted it diagonally into the penalty area. At this time, Ginter was still chasing Lin Chen. They didn't expect Lin Chen to be able to eat Winter raw directly with speed. This time, Sommer actually looked a little daunted in the face of Lin Chen, but he was a little hesitant halfway through the attack. Seeing this, Lin Chen directly stood up on the gate, and the ball quickly streaked across the grass. The ball was played fast and angled, and Sommer didn't touch the ball after he pounced on the ground. 2-0. In less than 30 minutes, Lin Chen scored twice. The fans of the goalball were completely hit by Lin Chen's goal to the point that they were speechless. But Menching, under the gesture of He-jin, quickly adjusted the tactical layout. Strengthen the pressing of Schalke 04 midfield, leaving McKennie, their midfield core, unable to get the ball. On the court, Lin Chen lost the support of the front court and could only be forced to go back to participate in defense. But Borussia Mönchen seized on Schalke 04's brief period of chaos. New signing Praya scored 2 goals in a row. The fans of Borussia Mönchen rekindled their hopes, and the Prussian Park Stadium once again erupted into enthusiastic shouts. Understanding the net, Chinese fans couldn't help but complain when they saw the chaos in Schalke 04 midfield. Schalke's midfield is too soft, and he can't even hold the ball under pressure. Lin Chen can't help it, the ball can't be passed, how to score? If you continue to play like this, Schalke is expected to lose this ball. At this time, Schalke fans, who traveled to the Prussian Park Stadium, could not help but worry when they saw the score equalized. Seeing that Lin Chen was still running without strength on the court, Schalke fans couldn't help but think of Lin Chen's previous 2 games. So Schalke fans pinned all their hopes on Lin Chen. I hope Lin Chen can also lead the team to victory like the previous 2 games. Chapter 46. On the pitch. Lin Chen stepped back to receive the ball more and more. Borussia Mönchen's defenders Ginter and Janchik were also stunned, and the coaching staff had not said anything before that this Chinese would play like this. Before the game, He-jin only told them to limit Lin Chen's point grabbing and making balls near the penalty area. This is the first time that such a withdrawal to the midfield has taken the ball. Seeing that Lin Chen retreated to such a deep depth, Menching's defenders couldn't defend Lin Chen closely. If they also run to the midfield, then the formation of the team is completely messed up. Borussia Mönchen's midfielder at this time. Lin Chen's appearance also gave you a lot of trouble for Strobel, and he was almost robbed several times. That is, Lin Chen's current defensive ability value is relatively low, otherwise Menching's midfield may not be able to withstand Lin Chen's impact now. On the other hand, look at the Schalke 04 aspect. After Rudy and Bentaleb were received by Lin Chen, the whole team also ran more and more smoothly. Soon the opportunity arose again. After Lin Chen retreated again to get the ball, Rudy took Lin Chen's pass. Borussia Mönchen's midfielders Strobel and Hoffmann rushed forward to grab it. Rudy hurriedly handed the ball to Mackwat in front, and the two then reversed their feet back and forth near the center circle. The football was picked out in 3 passes and 2 downs. At this time, Lin Chen had gradually moved to the back line. Pass. Pass the ball forward. In the coach's dugout, Tedesco was a little anxious at this time. Originally, the team was 2 goals ahead, but it was only a little careless to give the opposing striker a chance. Tedesco didn't want to end the first half with a draw. After hearing the coach's shout, Rudy's eyes then glanced at Lin Chen's position. When Borussia Mönchen's midfielder stepped forward to press again, Rudy pushed the ball straight out. And the target is Lin Chen. This time it wasn't a back and forth with Mackwat, this time the pass spanned a third of the pitch. The ball raced to Lin Chen's position against the turf and swiped past Borussia Mönchen's 2 midfielders. By the time Strobel reacted, the ball was long gone. But Strobel also wondered where the ball was going to go. When Borussia Mönchen's front court players thought it was another aimless pass, Lin Chen suddenly appeared in their field of vision. It turned out that before the ball came, Borussia Mönchen's 2 central defenders stepped forward in unison. While intercepting the ball, it also put Lin Chen in an offside position. But Borussia Mönchen's left-back Winter apparently did not understand the meaning of his teammate and was still standing stupidly on the side. Just when Borussia Mönchen's teammates thought the ball was going to end in vain, Lin Chen crossed Ginter's side and got the ball. The linesman did not raise the flag. A successful anti-offside at this time. The narrator's voice then sounded. On the pitch. After Lin Chen received the ball, there was no obstacle in front of him. Opposing goalkeeper Sommer stood on the empty court in this half, looking particularly vulnerable. This is anti-offside. At this time, the Borussia Mönchen players reacted, and fullback Winter was also annoyed. It was for a moment when the Mönchen team members were stunned. Lin Chen had already rushed to the edge of the great forbidden area. Facing the attacking goalkeeper, Lin Chen did not panic and firmly controlled the rhythm of the ball. As Lin Chen simply snapped the football to the left, he also changed direction. At this time, Lin Chen and the goalkeeper who pounced on the right passed by, and he deceived the goalkeeper Sommer. Fake shot. The fans of Mönchen also discovered Lin Chen's intentions and gasped in unison. At this time, there was only a lone goal left in front of Lin Chen. Lin Chen did not hesitate and faced the empty door. As if to vent his emotions, Lin Chen's left foot was directly pumped onto the ball. The football flies into the goal without suspense and does not stop until it hits the net. One more goal. Lin Chen scored a hat-trick in 3 consecutive games. In the Huagua broadcast room, Xinjian almost jumped out of his chair happily. I have to say that Lin Chen did give Huagua football a lot of long faces, and the explanation of such a performance is understandable. Lin Chen's goal performance this time is completely different from before, facing Mönchen's tenacious defense. Lin Chen chose to use an anti-offside position to deal a fatal blow to the arrogant Mönchen defender. Xinjian's comments were indeed very sharp, and I saw that Lin Chen's goal method this time was completely different from his previous performance. In the dugout, Tedesco was also surprised by Lin Chen's goal. It turned out to be an anti-offside approach, which greatly exceeded Tedesco's expectations. Another new talent? Tedesco couldn't help but wonder in his heart, how many unique skills did Lin Chen hide that he didn't know? At this time, on the court, the members of Mönchen's team looked a little lost. After Praya's equalizer, Borussia Mönchen's players also rekindled their hopes of winning. But Lin Chen's ball seemed to be a plate of cold water directly poured on the heads of the Mönchen players. It also extinguished the renewed hopes of the Borussia Möncchen players. Chapter 47. 3-2. Before halftime, Lin Chen gave Mönchen another fatal blow. Tedesco and assistant coach Peter discussed Lin's performance on the field. No wonder Real Madrid want to add a recall clause to the loan contract at any time. This kind of player really deserves so much attention from Real Madrid. Tedesco was a little excited at this point. Lin Chen's talent and ability really surprised him. There was even a moment when Tedesco thought it was their honor for Lin Chen to come to Schalke 04. Thinking of this, Tedesco also smiled bitterly and shook his head. I didn't expect that I would have such praise for Lin Chen in my heart. Coach Borussia Mönchen dugout. Coach Hurricane was angry. How could the team make such an obvious mistake? Winter tried to speak up to defend something, but couldn't say anything several times. Ginter also felt a little guilty, originally after seeing Lin Chen overtake in a corner. Ginter also harbored a hint of luck, thinking that it was only Lin Chen who took advantage of Möncheng's backline not paying attention to such an opportunity. But this time it is anti-offside. The speed Lin Chen showed surprised Quinter. How can it be so fast? In fact, the first time Lin Chen successfully reversed the offside, Ginter reacted. Hurriedly turned around and wanted to catch up with Lin Chen and destroy the ball out of the bottom line. In just a few breaths, Lin Chen threw Quinter out of a few positions. After the Black Gold reprimanded the team's performance, Möncheng's players did not dare to be careless. The game starts again. Mönchen actively organized the attack, constantly storming the Schalke 04 defense. Schalke 04, under the instructions of Tedesco, contracted the formation throughout the field. After failing to get the ball into the box on several occasions, Borussia Mönchen also had a corner kick opportunity. Faced with this hard-won opportunity, Black Gold motioned for two fullbacks, Nico and Winter, to step forward and join the attack. When Tedesco noticed the situation, he immediately focused the team so that he could concede the goal. Winter stepped forward to kick off the ball and the ball was headed over by Ronaldo before falling completely into the penalty area. Schalke 04's players also breathed a sigh of relief, while Borussia Mönchen's striker Praia looked a little annoyed. After all, headers are not his strong suit, and against Ronaldo, who is tall, headers do not give him many chances. Mönchen's fans also had some regrets, sighing and regretting the attack. Just when everyone let their guard down. Fischerman, the goalkeeper and captain of Schalke 04, threw the ball directly and quickly. Borussia Mönchen's players quickly noticed something was wrong and quickly retreated to the defense. At this time, Lin Chen had already received the ball on the edge of his own center circle. This time, Lin Chen did not choose to control the ball in place and wait for his teammates to step forward. Instead, he adjusted his posture directly, and then ran with the ball to the opponent's half. With the speed of 92 and the dribbling attribute of 81, the ball seemed to be glued to Lin Chen's feet. Even if he ran with all his strength, the ball was still firmly controlled by Lin Chen. At this time, in front of Lin Chen, except for the two central defenders, only an empty court remained. Lin Chen looked at the stadium in front of him, like a wide and endless grassland. Lin Chen did not hesitate and directly accelerated the storm. Lin Chen was like a horse galloping on the field. Ginter faced Lin Chen's rapid advance, and this time he seemed a little hesitant. I don't know if I should step back to protect the goal, or if I should step forward and press directly. It was the moment Ginter was thinking. Lin Chen accelerated his direction and directly crossed Ginter. Jeopardy! There is no one else in front of Lin Chen except the goal, and Yen Chik is still trying to catch up. The narrator's tone is passionate. The Borussia Mönchen fans in the stands even booed in horror. At this time, Sommer had no choice in the face of this situation, and directly chose to attack. When Sommer was just halfway through, Lin Chen was almost on the edge of the big forbidden area. What kind of speed is this? Sommer couldn't help but feel a little frightened in his heart. His teammates Ginter and Janchik have been completely left behind Lin Chen. Lin Chen saw Sommer attacking, and a smile suddenly leaked from the corner of his mouth. Waiting is now. At this time, Lin Chen had just stepped on the edge of the forbidden area. While Lin Chen hurriedly dribbled the ball, he adjusted his posture and directly kicked the ball out hard. Hanging. The fans of Borussia Mönchen let out a cry of horror in unison. Half crossing? Sommer looked at the ball slowly flying above his head and hurriedly retreated. Unfortunately, when the ball fell into the net, even though Sommer had completely flown his body upside down, his fingers still did not touch the ball. Another ball. In less than half time, Lin Chen had already completed his senior year. Möncheng has been completely beaten at this time. In the stands, Schalke fans from the away stadium cheered and celebrated the wonderful goal with the players on the pitch. The Prussian Park Stadium seemed to be the home of Schalke fans. Because the voices of the Borussia Mönchen fans are not heard here at all. Chapter 48. Lin Chen was completely crazy. Möncheng's players no longer knew how to defend Lin Chen. Head coach Hurricane paced in the dugout for a long time, as if he had made up his mind. He then shouted to the players on the field. Attack. Press out. Don't let them attack in such comfort. Borussia Mönchen's players heard the manager's instructions and were somewhat incredulous. Originally, I couldn't prevent Lin Chen, do I still want to press out and fight? But seeing Hurricane's firm tone, the Borussia Mönchen players had to do so. The game starts again. With less than 10 minutes to go before the end of the first half, Borussia Mönchen began his frenzied attack. Tedesco sensed something was wrong and then directly asked Macwood and Di Santo to withdraw from the front to defend. Only Lin Chen was left as the only single arrow to ambush in the opponent's half. But Schalke 04's strength and Monksing have a gap after all, facing Monksing who fought back. Schalke 04 was forced to defend with all his might. Plea, who scored twice, was also the focus of Schalke's defensive players. After Ronaldo again intercepted Borussia Mönchen's player to play his ball. The first half ended with it. Schalke 04 locker room. The players seemed very excited, and the fierce offensive and defensive conversion in this half of the game also made the players feel the passion that they had lost for a long time. Lin Chen, your performance today really surprised me. Head coach Tedesco also praised Lin Chen without reservation. Oh my god, the first time I saw Lin Chen racing on the court. Macwood was still immersed in Lin Chen's goal just now, and then asked the captain of the team, Feuermann. Did you discuss that fast-haired throwing ball with Lin Chen? Seeing Lin Chen directly dribbling the ball to launch a counterattack, Di Santo and I were shocked, originally thought that Lin Chen would take the ball and wait for us. Hearing Marcoot's question, Feuermann spread his hands innocently. How could it be discussed? I didn't practice this tactic before. I saw that Lin Chen had no one to guard at that time, so I handed the ball to Lin Chen. Tedesco heard the players' discussion, thought for a moment, and then clapped his hands to signal the players to stop the discussion. Borussia Mönchen may continue to attack in the second half. We have a 2-goal lead now, so there's no rush to attack. The most urgent task now is to defend Borussia Mönchen's attack, try to control the ball as much as possible, and consume the physical strength of Mönchen's players first. Then the others should try to create opportunities for Lin Chen, and then launch a counterattack at the last moment. Tedesco had no problem with his remarks, and the players were a little surprised when they heard the last sentence. 11th hour? Lin Chen is not coming to an end? Schalke's players had some questions in their minds at this point, but did not open their mouths to ask the manager. The second half begins. As Tedesco expected, Borussia Mönchen has been putting pressure on Schalke up front. Schalke 04 fully retreated to the home half, or even to the edge of the big penalty area, trying to defend the fierce attack of the goal. Lin Chen was in accordance with the head coach's arrangement, swimming alone in the front court. Occasionally, it can help the team to participate in the defense and harass the opposing player to get the ball. As for whether the midfield can be defended, it depends on your teammates. But Lin Chen, as a single striker, cannot retreat too deeply, otherwise the team will not have a fulcrum in the front court. At this time, Schalke's midfield has been fully suppressed, and it is difficult for Lin Chen to get a chance if he can't get the ball. Lin Chen's approach also made Heijin very uncomfortable. As long as Lin Chen stood in the front court, Heijin always felt that Lin Chen was a mortal threat to the team. But at this time, the team is 2 goals behind, and it can't manage so much. And Heijin thought at this time that Lin Chen should be over. Only Burgstaller can replace Lin Chen, and the 29-year-old Burgstaller cannot wantonly attack the Monksing defense line like Lin Chen. In the stands, Mönchen's fans also had the same idea as Hurricane. Because of the first 2 games, Lin Chen will be off in 60 or 70 minutes. Now Borussia Mönchen fans can only hope that Schalke can replace the biggest threat of the moment. Time is ticking. In the 70th minute, Borussia Mönchen's fans finally saw Tedesco ready to make a substitution. However, seeing the 4th official raise his substitution number, everyone was stunned, including Schalke's player. Number 23 Baba replaces number 9 Di Santo. It was Schalke's last substitution, with Tedesco replacing a striker with a defender. This made the fans of Monksing a little confused. Lin Chen is going to play the whole game. After the substitution, Schalke 04's defense line was much more solid. At the same time, there are more passes that can be given to Lin Chen. When Baba, who had just replaced the field, successfully defended a Möncing attack, he directly gave the ball to Lin Chen, who was retreating from near the center circle. After Lin Chen took the ball, he turned around and dribbled and pushed forward, relying on speed. But just beyond the halfway line, München's midfielder Hoffmann tried to stop Lin Chen's advance. Directly reach out and pull Lin Chen down and stop this counterattack with a tactical foul. Drip. The referee blew the whistle to signal a foul and gave Schalke 04 a free kick. Chapter 49. Set pieces. After seeing Hoffmann use a tactical foul to block Lin Chen's continued advance, He Jin did not feel anything wrong. If he didn't intercept again, Lin Chen would have to face two central defenders. He Jin really didn't dare to pin his hopes on Ginter and Jančić, who were almost beaten into a sieve by Lin Chen. On the pitch, Rudy gestured at the penalty spot and found that there was still a long way to go. A direct shot is definitely not an option, and Tedesco also signaled on the sidelines for Rudy to be hoisted into the box. When everyone was standing, Rudy drove straight to the set piece. Due to the distance from the goal, Rudy also riveted the ball and flew it out. In the box, Schalke 04 did not send too many players to this header scramble. There were only 3 people in Lin Chen and the front court, and the others stayed in the rear to prevent München from counterattacking. Watch the ball fly into the box. Lin Chen faced the bag clips of Ginter and Jančić and rose directly from the ground, and Ginter also jumped at the same time as Lin Chen. But compared to Lin Chen's starting height, it was more than 10 centimeters lower. Lin Chen shook his head hard against the ball, and the ball abruptly changed its line in the air and went straight to the upper right corner of the goal. Maybe it's because there are too many players in the box. Monksing's goalkeeper Sommer did not have time to make a save at the first time. The ball went straight to the dead corner of the goal, and Lin Chen scored another goal. The ball went in. Schalke 04 successfully completed an attack after nearly 30 minutes of hard work, taking advantage of this set-piece opportunity. Another goal was scored by Lin Chen, a high school forward of Schalke 04, which is already Lin Chen's 5th goal in this game. It's really hard to imagine that the 5 goals in a single game are actually from a youth player who has just turned 18. In the stands, Borussia Mönchen fans could no longer stand the team's poor scoreline. As a traditional powerhouse in the Bundesliga, it is really unacceptable for them to be beaten like this by a young player. It's almost 80 minutes now, and the team is still 3 goals behind. Borussia Mönchen fans no longer know how to win this match. There are even many Borussia Mönchen fans who saw that there was no hope of winning and directly chose to quit the stadium. Of course, there are many fans who remain in the stadium. Although the game is not over yet, many fans have begun to discuss the reasons for the fiasco at this time. Among them, the most talked about is Lin Chen, a young player of Schalke 04. Regardless of the team, I was surprised to just witness this 5-goal record. But I'm a little curious, is Schalke 04's youth training so strong that it can cultivate such a well-rounded center? North stand of Prussian Park Stadium, München die-hard fan area. Some fans and friends around them discussed the match, and when the latter heard Lin Chen, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he could see that it was Lin Chen's Bundesliga fan. No, you may not know Lin Chen. He came through Castilla's academy, Real Madrid's second team, and is now on loan at Schalke 04. I remember that Bayern seemed to be bidding to buy out Lin Chen, a full €1,000 but Castilla did not agree. Saying that, this Lin Chen fan made a happy expression. It's good that I didn't buy it, otherwise judging from Lin Chen's current performance, if Bayern really comes, it will be really devastating news for other teams in the Bundesliga. At this time, many Monksing fans have heard the conversation between the two. It was also surprising to hear that Bayern was willing to pay €1,000 to buy Lin Chen, who had never played in the high-level league at that time. However, judging from Lin Chen's performance in Schalke 04, he is indeed worth the price, and far more. Borussia Mönchen fans can't help but sigh at the rise of another supercenter, and even hope to become the contemporary king after Mero. The game starts again. At this point, there were less than 10 minutes left until the end of the game. Under Tedesco's instructions, the team began a full-fledged defense. Or leave Lin Chen alone to swim in the other half, waiting for an opportunity to look. But in the end, neither side seemed to have the desire to play. On the one hand, Borussia Mönchen was already 3 goals behind at this time, and in the remaining time of less than 10 minutes, it can basically be said that he cannot be chased. On the other hand, Schalke 04, after Borussia Mönchen slowed down the pace of the game, also slowly passed the ball back and forth in the midfield, trying to kill the final time. In the end, the game also ended with a score of 2-5. Dressing room. Peter, the assistant coach of Schalke 04, announced good news to the crowd. Lin Chen broke the record for the youngest Bundesliga player to win the fifth Sun. The players were also a little shocked to hear the news. Even though they already knew Lin Chen's ferocity, they actually broke the record that had been sealed for many years, which the team members did not expect. At this time, Lin Chen has scored 11 goals in 3 games, far ahead of the Bundesliga top scorers. Just as the team members and Lin Chen celebrated the big victory of this game, the sound of the system sounded again. Hidden mission, break Goko Denko player record, completed. Mission reward, 10 attribute points. Chapter 50. Post-match interview. When a reporter asked Tedesco what he thought of Lin Chen, head coach Tedesco praised unreservedly. Lin Chen is the perfect striker I have met in my coaching career. He has the ability to finish games. As a head coach, if you have a player like Lin Chen in your team, you must be happy to laugh in the middle of the night. Tedesco's excited expression shows how much he loves the player. On the other hand, the reporter also interviewed Heijin. When asked why Heiken lost the game, Heiken tried to keep his tone flat. Schalke 04 won by some fluke, and Lin Chen's personal play changed the situation of the game. When the media heard this, they suddenly came to the spirit: is this disdain for Schalke 04, or is it a praise for Lin Chen? When the reporters wanted to ask questions again, Heijin had already walked out of the interview area under the signal of the staff. The next day, Schalke 04's away win over Borussia Mönchengladbach also attracted a lot of media attention. As a traditional Bundesliga powerhouse, the team is still a very strong team in the Bundesliga despite not getting a ticket to European competition last season. In the face of Schalke 04, who is not very strong this season, Borussia Mönchengladbach was slaughtered by Schalke 04 at home. For the result of this game, some media even used the word shame to describe it. Of course, as the winner, the media naturally praised Schalke 04's performance. Among them, Lin Chen scored 5 goals alone, and his record-breaking performance was even more booked. Many German media praised the young player from China, among which Schalke's local media Rhine Football Morning Post praised Lin Chen. 5 goals per game. Break the Bundesliga record. Since Bayern Munich hosted Wolfsburg in the 6th round of the Bundesliga season in the 15-16 season, Lewandowski came off the bench to perform the miracle of 5 goals in 9 minutes, and no player has been able to break this single-game record. And Lin Chen, as an 18-year-old young player, has completed such an achievement in only 3 rounds in the Bundesliga. This surprised many Bundesliga fans, the happiest of which were naturally Schalke fans. For Lin Chen's love, many Schalke fans got Lin Chen's emoji when playing football out of nowhere, and they commented under Schalke's official blog. The Ballkings gaze.jpg. Fork will break. Hold back and let me score another goal. When Lin Chen learned the news, he suddenly cried and laughed. At this time, far away in Spain, Lin Chen's stunning performance also attracted the attention of the Spanish media. As the mouthpiece of Real Madrid, Marca also highlighted the match in the Bundesliga. While Real Madrid drew away at Athletic Bilbao last night, Lin Chen, who came through the Castilla Academy, helped the team complete a big victory. When Lin Chen was still at Castilla last season, he played an impressive performance of 33 goals in 8 games in the second division. This season, Real Madrid opted for the young centre-forward to work out on loan at Schalke 04, hoping that Lin Chen could sharpen himself in the Bundesliga. But Lin Chen's performance greatly exceeded everyone's expectations. As a young player who joined the team, he not only directly established himself as the main centre-forward, but also scored a total of 11 goals in the first 3 rounds of the Bundesliga. At this time, Lin Chen was far ahead of the scorer list, leaving a group of stars far behind. And Lin Chen's away game against Borussia Mönchengladbach yesterday even staged 5 goals in a single game, directly breaking the record of the youngest Bundesliga 5 Sundenko player. Compared to Lin Chen, Real Madrid's talented Brazilian striker Vinicius, who spent €4,500 to bring in from Flamengo in the summer window, can only see him on the bench and has not scored a single goal in La Liga so far. Compared to Vinicius, the same 18-year-old Lin Chen is particularly eye-catching. In the face of the difficulties that Real Madrid have encountered this season, perhaps it is a good way to recall Lin Chen from Schalke 04. Marca's tirade attracted the attention of many Real Madrid fans when they saw the Castilla young player Lin Chen highlighted in the article. many Real Madrid fans were dumbfounded. Who is Lin Chen? I've never heard of it before. This question was quickly answered by Real Madrid fans, who often follow the second team. Everyone knew that Lin Chen couldn't help but give a thumbs up after his stunning performance in CBB. When the fans found that Lin Chen was now the leading goalscorer in the Bundesliga, they could no longer hold their mood and ran to the Real Madrid official blog to comment. I think it's time for the club to focus on the loan players. Isn't Lin Chen recalled? I feel that the team needs a high school striker to support the front court. Such a talented player is actually loaned out. I doubt you have a brain problem? 4,500 euro Vinicius is not as good as Lin Chen with zero transfer fee. After this commotion by fans, it also attracted the attention of Real Madrid's top management. I originally thought that the fans would vent their emotions because of the team's draw, but I didn't expect that the comment area was full of requests for the team to recall Lin Chen. When they saw Lin Chen mentioned by fans in their comments, some staff members were confused again. The staff of the official blog had to pass on the feedback of the fans to the club's senior management.